Now, when we come to passages like Revelation 20, and it talks about, in Revelation 19, the second coming, and Revelation 20, this 1,000-year reign of Christ, which is followed by the eternal state, there have been a lot of different ways that that passage is viewed. One way is amillennialism. Amillennialism is the view that there is no future millennial kingdom. The millennium is now. The millennium is the church age between the first advent and the second advent. And of course, it's an indefinite period of time because we've certainly gone past the year 1000. Okay? So this view replaced the biblical view of premillennialism. We'll talk about that in a minute. Beginning in the 2nd century, you have a rise of emphasis on Plato. And from the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th centuries, you see amillennialism beginning to take over the church. So there is no future kingdom. It's a spiritual kingdom in the heart. The church is the kingdom, and it dominates church history for 13 centuries. Now, let me talk a little more about Platonic thinking. Platonic thinking is the concept that it's ideas that are the important thing, not the material, concrete things. So as that began to rise in the church, the idea of a literal, concrete, earthly kingdom centered around a nation of Israel became kind of passé. We can't have that. It's got to be a mystical, spiritual kingdom in the heart. And so that Platonic thinking took over. And so I say that amillennialism owes more to Plato than it does the Bible. But they have a problem. Revelation 19 and 20. Chapter 19 comes before chapter 20. That's a problem. 19, second coming, then chapter 20, the 1,000 years. If you read it in a straightforward way, 19, the second coming before the 1,000 years. So how do they handle that? The most common way it's handled throughout all of church history is the recapitulation view of the book of Revelation. And so the Revelation is chopped up into 7 parts, and each part gives a summary of things from the first to the second advent. And it just so happens that the section, chapter 20, begins a new section. So chapter 20 starts with the present age. That's how they do that. But there's some problems with that view. It doesn't fit the outline of the book given in 119. The things which were, the things which are, the things that shall come after this. It doesn't handle very well. The word "and" occurs almost 1,200 times in the book. And this, and this, and this. It just speaks of the narrative flow of the passage rather than these recapitulations. And then you have 19 and 20 as a unit. The unholy trinity, the Antichrist, the false prophet, and Satan all get destroyed in those 2 chapters. And there's a unified part to that section. You can't separate them. And then you have the binding of Satan. If that view is true, then Satan is bound today. And someone said if he's bound today, he's on an awfully long chain. Some would say, well, he certainly attacks Christians, but he doesn't attack unbelievers. He doesn't deceive them. But wait a minute, 2 Corinthians 4 tells us that the God of this world, who is Satan, blinds the minds of them that believe not, lest the light of Christ will shine unto them. So he is bothering unbelievers today. So you have a hard time supporting the amillennial view of the kingdom. Another view is postmillennialism. That started much, much later in the 18th century, maybe the 17th century, with Daniel Whitby, who's one of the early founders of that. In this, the church ushers in the kingdom by evangelizing enough and conquering the institutions of our culture and societies on earth. And the church overcomes the world. And at the end of the kingdom, Jesus comes back as a kind of reward for the kingdom and what we've done. And of course, their problem is also Revelation 19 and 20. How do you handle that? Sequencing. And also they have another problem. Is the world really getting better and better? In their scheme, the world's getting better and the church is conquering. Does that seem to be happening? And we struggle with that. Certainly the 20th century kind of went against the grain for their view. And that's why among evangelical born-again Christians, postmillennialism is right now the last option. It's just hard to believe it. Now, the third view is the biblical view of premillennialism, that Jesus is coming back to set up his earthly kingdom. Well, that fits Revelation 19, coming before chapter 20. It also fits the way the other Old Testament passages are. Daniel 7 the Messiah coming, the Son of Man coming to set up an earthly kingdom. All through Isaiah, all through Jeremiah, Zechariah 12, Messiah coming back, put his feet on the earth to set up an earthly kingdom. And so dispensational premillennialism, especially that version of premillennialism, has little interpretation, a distinction between Israel and the church, and has a future for national Israel. When Jesus comes back, he's not coming back to Washington, D.C. He's coming back to Jerusalem, and he's going to set up his kingdom and his headquarters there. So there's a land and a future for the nation of Israel, as well as for the entire world. So our confidence is in the scriptures, Old and New Testament, that show us that the Messiah is coming to set up an earthly kingdom. We are premillennial, and so we're not going to waffle on that question because of the scriptures.